John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
So the Melchizedek human hybrid races were progressively rated by draconian, reptilian, and competing Jehovian, Palladian, and Nibiruan Anunnaki fallen angelic collectives since Lemurian Atlantean times, evolving into numerous competing Illuminati races that progressively infiltrated and forced hybridization with human 12-tribe cultures, culminating in transposition of race identity of literally the whole human 12 tribes, races, transposition of race identity and world cultural dominion. That is how it got from its beginnings to here. It was progressive, stage by stage by stage. And this is why they've gone out, the fallen angelics have gone out of their way to hide the Atlantean records. Because if they were remembered, we'd know. We know the game. We know about the Templar quest. We know about the whole game. We know about the hybrids. Right now we're walking around as a bunch of people who think we might have come out of apes, and we're not really sure. We all think we're human. Half of us don't even know if we have a soul. We are very primed to be used and manipulated. But this is why the founders are determined, whatever it takes. They are bringing this information back, and that's why we're determined, Az and I are determined. We feel so grateful to have been trusted with, the first wave of bringing the information back, that even if we have to make ourselves unpopular in certain audiences, we will. Because I know it's the truth. He knows it's the truth. And I hope you guys can feel the truth that resonates in it. Once you know this truth, there is no turning back. There's no ever again being able to go back to light, love, and clueless. And it can be sad. It's almost like you want to have a funeral for your light, love, and clueless self. Because when I started to see the big picture and the detail that they've been giving it, I felt like I lost a part of my innocence. And I realized that at a certain level, the desire and quest for knowledge and wisdom has a burden that goes along with it. I felt for quite a while that I'd lost my innocence because I couldn't walk down the street in light, love, and clueless space and just openly love everybody and not worry about my biofield and think everybody would love me as much as I love them. Or just because I'm a nice person and wouldn't hurt an ant, that everybody else is like that too. It was a big wake-up call. And we're all moving into this. This is the easy part of the wake-up call, because there's going to be more things, I think, that take place in the next number of years on this planet that are going to bring that home to the people who are in denial. I wanted to be in denial. I spent about 6 months crying frequently and not wanting to be a speaker, not wanting to talk about it, not wanting to know, but realizing once you do, there's no going back. You cannot pretend you don't, or then you just con yourself. And then you have a choice, like keep conning yourself and then find something to like just string yourself out on so you don't feel yourself anymore, but that's useless. Don't do that. So the other thing is dealing with it, facing it, and realizing there's a higher level up above that, where even though it looks this bad, and right now it's not great, that there is a truth and a power and a love to divine right order that can fix anything. And once we go to that space, that's where all of this depressing stuff, we start to find that we can make a direct difference, each one of us, in the healing of this. If we look at it as if we were defeated, or if it's hopeless, the picture's so big we can't do anything, we're going to feel miserable. We don't need to feel miserable. If we know how to run D12 frequency, we know how to progressively get our DNA mutations cleared, we will progressively be able to make a difference in this mess, not only for the human races, not only for the indigo races, but for any of the descendants of the Leviathan races that want out, because many of them got trapped too. They didn't mean to get caught up in what they got caught up in. They didn't mean to get possessed by D11 dark avatars. They didn't know how to protect themselves because the knowledge of how to protect themselves was taken off the planet, so they couldn't. There's a great love that's extended to people of all walks of life and all belief systems. In the belief system we represent, it's inclusive rather than exclusive. But part of the things that we teach are identification of who's who and what's what. And that gets us into trouble all the time. Because sometimes on the path of spiritual growth, there are things that aren't fluffy and light and sweet. Sometimes there are things that are very serious and that aren't pleasant. And especially on Earth for the last 25,000 years, we've had a lot of that happening. In the course that you're about to take, the Templar course, we're going to explore Master's planetary grid mechanics. This is a Master's course, as I believe by the time you get finished with the course, you will understand why. It is a course that's going to cover a wide spectrum of information. We're going to start in a place which was kind of funny, because the place that we're going to start tonight, what we're going to move into tonight, has to do with a part of the Cathara course that is in the reading, but we tend to not cover so we can get to the other more important things on anatomy in the Cathara course. But one of the comments that was made by the group of people who decided not to show up was, "Where's the love?" And it's really funny, because if they'd asked me it directly, I said, well, on page, so-and-so. Because there is, in the Cathara manual, and we put it in this manual as well, a brief discussion on what's called the postures of love, from soft love to tough love to self-love to other love, and to something called omni-love, which is Christos love. Sometimes soft love is appropriate, and that's the kind most people really, really like. It's the kind you can see most fully embodied in the, let's say, mother-child relationship, or a normal, healthy mother-child relationship. The nurturing, soft, cuddly, gentle, comforting kind of love. That works well with some people, and that's the kind of love that most of us would like to be able to receive and give. But sometimes we deal with people or beings that if you use soft love, they will run over you like a freight train, and they will take everything from you and not have any bit of remorse. And it's not because they're evil or bad or anything like that, but it's because there's a level of spiritual maturity that is lacking, where the truth of loving under what's called the law of one isn't understood, and therefore they still operate in a way that will create harm to others in order to take for themselves. Now, what has happened with the situation with the people who didn't come is a classic demonstration. It was a perfect demonstration of some of the things that we have taught, where I get accused of, well, where's the love in your teachings? It's all technology. It's spiritual technology. The core of this technology is something called a state of vibrational harmonization, which is the emotional experience that we call love. As we evolve into Christos beings, we progressively become able to love, to experience more love with everything around us. First within ourselves, then within our collectives of people, then with the plants and the animals and the whole planet itself, then with the galaxies and the universe. That's what it means to become a Christ-conscious being. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you have to be stupid. It doesn't mean you have to take the role of playing a victim. We'll explore the differences between soft love a little bit and tough love, because tough love is something that if we're going to really be vessels of healing on a planetary level, it's going to be something we need to learn. Because right now we're in a situation, we are in the middle of a huge, huge mass drama right now, that whether or not we want to be a part of it, we still are, unless somebody has like shuttle tickets to the moon or something that's going to get you out of here. Because there is something called race karma and planetary karma that is coming to the fore right now. It has to do with the Atlantean period. Atlantis was much more than a legend. It was a place in history and a place in time. Through this workshop, we're going to explore Atlantis, we're going to explore Lemuria, we're going to explore things that came before that. This is history, so there's a history lesson within this course. Because if you do not understand the history, which as we talked about in Kathara, time is simultaneous, it means the history is still happening now in its own time vector. If we don't understand the history, we're not going to understand what's happening in the contemporary drama on the planetary level. We're not going to understand who's who in the contemporary drama. We're not going to understand why the New Age movement right now is being ripped apart at the seams. And this is very sad because it wasn't intended to do that. Right now, there are two forces working within the New Age movement. One is a Christos program that has to do with personal healing and planetary healing. And there is another that is an anti-Christos program, which means it is going out of its way to ensure that the planetary divine blueprint does not anchor here, because certain groups of individual beings and collectives have a vested interest in making sure the planetary divine blueprint does not get anchored. You may find me and Az getting very passionate sometimes about, isn't this, we can, we'll do everything we can to assist the Christos realignment mission here to get the divine blueprint back in, because it's absolutely horrible what the fallen angelics are intending to do here. It's already horrible what they did here. But that doesn't mean they're hated. It doesn't mean they are not loved, because both Az and I share the understanding that no matter what they've done, they have done it out of their own convolution of consciousness, where they no longer remember their connection to Source. So just like a child who is doing bad or horrible things, you may need to intervene and stop that behavior, at least to protect it from destroying or harming other people. But that does not mean the child is intrinsically bad. It means the behavior needs to be corrected, and the child needs to grow in order to understand how to be self-regulating. Right now is taking place with the fallen angelic legions. It is not a battle in our world of good versus evil. It is a battle in their world of good versus evil. And they like to call us the evil ones because we're trying to anchor the divine blueprint, and that's against what their objectives are. When you find out what the objectives are, it'll blow your mind, at least it did mine. It has to do with something called phantom matrix. Phantom matrix is a black hole sub-time distortion system that was created 250 billion years ago in this time matrix. It was not originally part of the divine blueprint. It was one of those accidents that can happen through free will and the ability of having probability. This is what we've been trying to heal. The founders have been trying to heal for 250 billion years. But the phantom matrix is the location from which the fallen angelic races are coming and contacting here. So as we begin to find out about this, we'll start to understand the stories that were in the Bible a little better about heaven and hell. Because a place that was referred to as hell or Hades was phantom matrix. And that's where, if the fallen angelics have their way, they are going to drag this planet and its people and its consciousness field into. And that's what the guardian races are saying, no, I'm sorry, we love you dearly, but we can't permit you to do that. We are going to anchor the divine blueprint. The divine blueprint will hold the planetary grids here, stable in this time matrix, so it cannot be dragged into the black hole system. And that's really what this is all about. It's hugely spiritual, but it's hugely scientific all at the same time.
Hey guys, Andre Hodge, 7 of Truth, Infinite Potential Healing with you once more. It's awesome to catch up with you and run into you again. If this is something new for you, then welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey. And if you're being familiar with me and supportive and explored healing with me and stuff and been around me for a while, many years, I thank you for me to continue being or continuing to be a part of your journey. It's been a while since I've actually done anything like this. It feels like forever, so it's awesome to catch up with you. I hope you're going well and enjoying the reality in life and everything that's going on. Maybe I'll do this at the start before I get into stuff. What I'm going to do is do a recording. Basically a bit of an overview of the last 6 weeks since February 24th. It was the day I did the recording at 1 to 3 a.m. my time with Colleen Tamick. Did To Infinity and Beyond number 4, which was pretty epic. I'm laughing at myself because I don't want to put a lot of focus on it. You probably hear it if I say it, but I've got a pretty epic cricket right near me, which is a different frequency. I usually got birds and stuff. So I did a quick test before I did this, just to check the audio, and it's not too bad, but it's pretty deafening to me here. But it might be an interesting energy, bit of a difference. But yeah, I want to do a bit of a... I think humanity and Earth and all of us have just come out of something really epic. And the word I got was recalibration early in this week. And what I felt was, it was I've been through many things this last 6 weeks. The world has, and what I'll do is I'll use me and what I've been through and the stuff I've been doing and that, which I know could have been a variable in everyone here and stuff, but I think you as an individual have also been through your own metaphor this time as well. So if I use me as an example and some of the things I've been through and what's gone on, it will help to recalibrate you as well. I think the information I'll give you will be very helpful on that. So the title I got for this video was recalibrating to the new energetic reality, because I think in that time something new is being inserted into our reality, and it's taken us a while to... I'm pretty quick and I do a lot, you know what I mean? I'm pretty hardcore, nothing really affects me, and this has been pretty big. All right, March freaking sucked. It was pretty hectic, and I did a lot. I know my allies did a lot. I know some of the allies, a few ones I let in and stuff, went through a lot. And yeah, so what I want to do just before I get into this is just contemplate that word recalibration. So if things have been like shaky, or like you think about those games as a kid, putting a square block into a round hole sort of thing. I think the foundation of the frequency of the reality is shifted underneath us, and because there's so many variables and so many things going on, the absence of know thyself, right? Really truly knowing your frequency has afforded this to be slipped under, and the majority of people really aren't really able to splice up the variables going on. So if I sort of explain me and all this sort of stuff, it will be a great ally for you to also recalibrate yourself and get back on the game and stuff if you felt off it. Definitely after this Monday, the 4th of April, I felt a big shift. And then that night I chatted to my ally and stuff, and she, Captain Marvel, I allude to, and it's not appropriate for her to be public or anything like that. She needs to be isolated, and I've introduced her to a few of my allies and stuff, so people who I sort of know and stuff, they know she actually lives. You're gonna have to just trust me, like being governed by truth and authenticity, that there is this being out there with all the galactic special forces stuff I've done in the past. If you're new to me, yeah, what I want to do, all right, is use a bit of a tool here quick, because the reality shifted from my perspective, and we've all been through a lot, and it can be hard to, and so that word recalibrate, so if we're being off and misaligned with the new foundational frequencies that's going on, this could be a cool tool for you, because I think the level of fuckery is going to be like that, and you're going to have to be able to handle it and measure it and be able to sense it with all the other variances going on, all right? Because that's where I'll use me as an example here, so you can actually use my template to measure yourself, all right? So what I want to do is just stop and hold back, all right? The thing that I've learned, all right? And I did a post maybe a month ago or so about endurance wisdom. And my attitude is, we can think about the future a lot, and we can be tuning into it in the past and all that sort of stuff, right? But the key is right this moment, right how you feel and how you perceive things, and what is your emotional state and energetic feel about it, all right? And the thing that's really helped me of late is to keep it extremely simple, all right? And so what I'm aware of a lot, you know, I've been through a lot, but it's been pretty freaking epic, okay? And so what I've had to do is just pull it all back and just master the single breath, all right? Just get the breath going for 5 minutes, all right? Like in one of the videos recently, I think it was, I suggested just drink a bit more water and add a bit more protein and stuff. It might have been one, the courage to just show up as human each and every day. I said I had to increase my water because of the hydration and stuff like that, and I've got more context about that now. But how about this? How about you just start right now listening to this, just really focusing on your breath for a few minutes or a few breaths. What I found was just doing it for 5 minutes, just really getting regulated on the breath, breathing down to the stomach and getting that circular flow going, like in and out. All right, so take a few deep breaths and really observe the breath. All right, and are you allowing your breath to get to all angles of your lung and deep down and stuff, so your body gets the most oxygen and nourishment it has. All right, because what I want to do is help you just realize we have all these tools and simple things. All right, you think about, there's a lot more potential challenge relative to sourcing materials and things and foods and stuff like that. If you do a hindsight reflection over the last couple of thousand years, right, you know, in our present society there's a polarity against the convenience of food, right, where it comes from and all that. I think that's a luxury, all right. If we can complain about having access to easy food and stuff, how fortunate we, because I remember the Leonardo DiCaprio movie The Reverend, I think it came out many years ago, 2015, of how cold it was and how harsh the Canadian outback is and stuff in winter and that, you know, for so long after, say, the Babylon massacre and all this bullshit that I've said in the Amplify the Echoes of our Soul's Ancient Truth series, of how tough it's been for so long, right? So in bringing that up, I want to just offer that for humanity to endure and overcome all that and get to this point in our civilization, despite all the shit that's going on. I've got mosquitoes. They come out to play as well. The simple things got us through that, alright? So our ancestors, you know, whether it was eggs or meat or vegetables and stuff like that, they didn't have, you know, all the luxuries that we have these days that we think are reliant. Our spirituality and our pureness and our foundation of existence require all this high maintenance sort of stuff of these days, right? Sure, we have like the EMF and all sorts of fuckery going on, alright? But just realize it's probably what we've gotten through for the last couple of thousand years that is probably going to be our greatest ally, alright? So just, it might be a very, very powerful time to get proactive on getting simple, alright? Getting efficient. And that gets into your emotional mastery and stuff, and I've done that series before and all that. So I just offer that as an incentive. It's probably the simple things, and that can be your ally now, alright? So try not to be too complex in getting through this. Go back to those times and how they got through that, and just see if there is wisdom and potentials in that by looking in your region and stuff, and maybe changing the way you live proactively now, because I'm going to get into some aspects of what I think it was March 24 I did a earth pranic healing, and I realized a lot, and I'll get into that a bit later as it's a variable, right? So just see how well you focus on your breath during this show, this release, because it's actually not that easy. But that being said, it means it's a potential. If we haven't been mastering our breath and bringing ourselves into this moment and realizing the potential in this moment. So actually say, focusing and listening to what I say. You might have all this potential you never realized because you weren't a master of your breath, all right? Just things like that. So, you know, it's something that's been an ally to me during this time. But I think we've been through something really freaking epic and stuff. I've got this good, the bad, the ugly and sort of thing. Like there's been good, there's been bad, and there's been definitely a lot of ugliness and stuff. So, yeah. Just contemplate those words, recalibrating to a new energetic reality. Because I think we're in one, and it hasn't been identified. And by me saying that, that would be like, holy shit, holy crap. That's what I was missing. Because I think it's going to be something that's sort of done to undermine us. But it's also going to be an ally as well. So it's not about getting polarized, it's about adapting as quick as you can, getting up to speed and enduring it like Galactic Special Forces, right? And if you're new to me and you've been around me for a while, I have shifted and recalibrated myself, all right, to the new understandings and awareness I've brought in. And I don't want to get into this just now, but the recalibration thing hasn't just been the 6 weeks for me. It's been since I awoken, all right? I had a really awesome experience of someone that I met recently that's actually been through the Ashiana Dean stuff, and this person was actually at like 40 of the seminars from mid-2013, 2003, 20 years ago. So I actually, on Facebook, I actually shared some audios that I've sent to clients and stuff to get the recalibration of the foundation of truth, all right? I'm not going to show the images over this. I'm just going to try and stream it because it's going to be quite detailed and a lot offered, and I haven't done a stream like this or an offering like this for a while, so I've been through a lot, okay? It's going to be fun, and I'm in a bit of a brat mode, alright, because I've got dillygaff, like, does it look like I give a F, alright, dillygaff. Kevin Bloody Wilson, that's Aussie Psychic Defense, dillygaff, alright? Yeah, I've done this recalibration of myself over a very long period, alright, of my whole awakening, and I'm just, I'm always open to I'm humble to what I don't know, like we all should be, alright? Like I'm a hardcore researcher, and I'll do 20 hours of research a day like I was doing back 10 years ago in my currency trading days. When I changed my week to a 42-hour day week, alright? I'd stay up for 40 hours for my trades, and then I'd get a few hours sleep, and then I'd get up and do it again and stuff, and in that time I'd do all the research. I did that for many years, and I've been recalibrating myself to what's gone on over all that time, and I've had to accept there's been a lot of targeting and influences and stuff, and I haven't been willing to accept, and I just think you can be blasé about things and stuff, but now knowing what I know and what I've done and what I've still been able to do, I'm really proud of myself, and you should be too, all right? Because sorry about that. You should be too, because there's a spiritual naivety that I know I embraced, and I equate that to giving away my perception authority, all right? Who am I to challenge some of the people I've been around and stuff? I've always been humble, and in myself, I've never really, it took me a long time to really accept my abilities and stuff. And again, with this recalibration, this 6 weeks, I'll get into that about me, because I've had to actually accept what is going on me on a new level as well, which will be an ally and a teaching for you if you can hear it, all right? So yeah, I've done a reflection, and in the past, I haven't said this for a while, but I've known I've had a lot of reality, authority, all right? And there's probably a few of you out there that are doing that you're probably hidden. Like this ally I allude to, Captain Marvel, and we've been sort of anchors for a lot. I've been a like I've had my YouTube channel been a platform to give people a chance to get to be a circuit connector and stuff, and I've allowed myself to be used and all sorts of stuff. I've offered on that about 18 months ago some of the real epic galactic special forces missions, and I've also offered in this sort of going back the last year or a bit, year and a half, a lot of me, and I've offered me transparently of how I've gone through my journey and a lot of the mistakes I've made, because there's no instruction book, and I don't see things as failure or mistakes. I see what society sees as mistakes as an opportunity to see things. Like when I make a mistake, I see it as a potential, because at that time when I make choice points and I act, there was another level awareness that I couldn't potentially see at that time, and that brings about the outcome that I didn't want, because I didn't have the awareness, and that gap relative to mistake and the outcome is potential. So you go through actions and it has an outcome that you don't want. Well, the hindsight of that is you gain awareness from what you didn't know. So I'm a trial and error sort of IT problem solver, and it's just a matter of like Thomas Edison, when he was like making the light globe, he did if I recall, there was like, it took him 10,000 tries to get that right. So there's all sorts of wisdom you gain from experience and outcomes, right? So I don't fear failure, all right? I more so lament regret from not trying, because I was fearful of a negative outcome, all right? Regret has been something I've avoided all my life, because we can control that, all right? That's a variable that we can control, okay? So what I want to do, why I'm bringing up the Galactic Special Forces and me and my thing, all right? I don't think people understand the level of love I operate with instinctively by my nature. And it feels like I've shifted a lot in the last 6 months, and I've needed to recalibrating what I've said, okay? And what I'm inviting you to do is also recalibrate that. My expression is more of a masculine expression, because I see the way society is going, and that's been diminished. And so the narrative is doing that. So my attitude is I do the opposite of what the narrative requires. To me, that's telling me exactly what we should be doing. If you're getting a sense that the narrative is telling you what it wants us to do, you do the opposite, all right? Fuck it. So I've had to embrace my Crocodile, Star-Lord, Wolverine, Aladdin, Dundee mode a lot more, and but I do it based on love, right? If you go back to my original recordings and how I awakened, I had the choice of love or money, all right? And a lot of people talk the theory of love, and they talk a big game of love, and I get that, but I've lived it when everything's on the line, and I've stuck to love. And I feel very, very fortunate that I had that test and I still did that, all right? It was life on the line with an ex that was suicidal, or make 150 grand a year, and during a financial crisis of 2008. And I am thankful that I was brought up in a humble way, and I'm tough on people around me, but I know it's the purity of, say, my mother, a single mother, and humbleness and her lack, all right? That, because we didn't have much, it made that choice easier for me, because I wasn't brought up to be greedy and stuff. So that's where I got into currency trading, to actually understand freaking greed, all right? And I got into the energy, money, and life force, and I see money as an encapsulation of life force, all right? And that's why people are greedy, and I'm working out this whole money system phantom matrix, greed program, all right? So see greedy people as being run by the phantom matrix, all right? Because with what's happened with the money of late, all right, because so much money was pumped into the system, all right, with the COVID sort of stuff. It's actually, so inflation is the change of price over a unit of time. So say if a loaf of bread costs $2 and now it costs $3, well, that's gone up 50% over that unit of time, right? So what that means is we've got to create 3 units. We've got to go out and work and earn 3 units when it used to cost 2. So our life force is being diminished, all right? So when they pump money in the system, they diminish our life force value, all right? So we've got to earn more for the same amount, so we're worth less. So our life force has less effect, all right? So it means we need to do more for the same thing, so we're harvested more, all right? So this is what's been going on in the reality, and the bigger events going on, in my opinion, are in the 3D, because I'm after Metagree, all right? I don't give a shit about the 3D 5 cents sort of stuff. Everything percolates down from that. But I just want to help you understand what's going on in this recalibration of a new energetic reality, because a lot of it is based on that, all right? And so, yeah, there's things going on in the rest of the world which I'll get into and stuff, because it fits in this 24th of February to 4th of April 6 weeks period, all right? So what I was trying to introduce is my level of love that most people don't recognize. And I sound harsh and polarized and all that sort of stuff, but it all comes from the passion of that, all right? And you need to really understand that I mastered love 12 years ago, 13 years ago, all right? I was in unconditional love. I'm very fortunate to experience a glimpse of that with someone. And I was willing to give up everything to go with them to Sydney. And then when they were in trouble and stuff, I gave it up again, all right? I had many tests on love, so I've lived it. And to me, like, doing something other than that is crazy, all right? But what I've come to appreciate is most people, when they get to their, like, safety net of when they're challenged, they won't go beyond their comfort zone, all right? So they'll talk a big game, but, you know, if some information comes to them that challenges them, or they actually need to go into their reserves and it affects them to help someone else, they won't actually do it, all right? They're talking a big game. So I'm just suggesting, just watch out for these talkers, all right? And their theorists, their ideology related to love. They haven't actually lived it and done it and gone the other side and suffered for it, right? And I'm doing a bit of a, like, Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, sitting at the lake talking about smart-ass punk with a old veteran that's done it, all right, and been there and probably beaten up and potentially more traumatized and all that sort of stuff. But the reason why I bring up love with me and stuff is I have to bring out the Crocodile Dundee attitude relative to the Galactic Special Forces missions, right? Because I had that foundation of love. And this gets into the specific missions. If you haven't listened to them, there's a playlist, and this is going back about the last 2 years on my channel, all right? So they're there, and I highly recommend you go and listen to them and tune into real freaking epic missions. Galactic Special Forces one with Nikki was with a species in Israel, and they were very negative, doing lots of misguided shit, all right? And what we did was hold space and gave them a chance to clear all their karma of all their negative shit and return to source, all right? And it's beautiful. And that's holding love for these really epic species that have done a lot of shit, all right? But then there's also other missions in there, all right? There's a recording after that that unfortunately I haven't found. I haven't dug up on an old computer hard disk. I have to get into my IT ninja mode with that, potentially. But there was a recording that we did, and that would have been part 2. It was a bit later in the year, in 2014. This is 2014 when I was living on 10 meals a day, all right? So I also, back around that era, created a video of Bruce Lipton, love versus fear state and stress's effect on the body. So when you're in love, it's like nourishing in the sternum, and all your energy and your nourishment goes into repair rather than fight or flight into the legs, and there's a cost with that, all right? and your body isn't nourished and healed and stuff. So that's a video out there around that time that I did. But I remember it was late August 2014, and I remember sitting on my computer and this article about the Rotherham sex scandal, where 1,600 women were violated over a 20-year period, and all the institutions were all encouraging it, all this sort of shit. There was something really negative going on. Long story short, it was all that trauma was locking down a ley line that was going into the Bank of England. We hit the Bank of England hard. We disconnected from the Vatican for the whole worldwide energy harvest, all right? And then after that, and this is Galactic Special Forces Part 2, is clearing 700,000 sacrificed children's souls under the Vatican, and their blood was used as the post office network to lock down the grid of the world after every indigenous tribe was genocided and stuff, and getting into the Ashiana stuff, like going after their DNA codes and locking down the indigos and stuff like that. And then Part 3 was being a beacon with solar flares to let species know that had lost Earth, where Earth was, Earth Mother, and they rediscovered it. It was big. But then the other one, or the other two, Part 4, my 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. time, just on a random Thursday morning, interacting with Nikki, who was over in Philippines, like doing it tough. We're both doing it tough. And then we just get called into a mission, and this very, very negative species line with Saudi Arabia was fucking doing all their genetic stuff with the vaccines and all that sort of shit, alright? And we operate in the same way as Galactic Special Force Part 1. We were giving this species an opportunity to put their weapons down and clear. And they came and fucking went hard at us, alright? They didn't give a shit. They weren't looking for clearance. They were looking to maintain their status and all that. And basically we recycled them reduced them to a tiny cell, their whole species, alright? And then in Galactic Special Forces Part 5, in October 2017, April 2017, 5 years ago, it's crazy. She and I, we went in, a planet in the Orion star system was being attacked and tried to be destroyed, or my attitude, it was being hacked. There's a Stargate up there, and it was going to be used to attack Earth, and we went out and prevented that, alright? So the reason why I'm saying this is I operate from love all the time, alright? And I don't like doing this tough love shit, alright? Well, it's not I don't like it, it's held back if it's only required, because there is no other answer for this shit. And while I'm saying that, it's do no harm but take no shit sort of time. And it's funny, I had someone email me some links related to SSP stuff, and Ally at our Sean Bond was on there, and it was done in March. It's crazy, a few weeks ago, and I hadn't watched it. I just tuned into it, and I've had this theme with I like Captain Marvel. It's fucking do no harm but take no shit time, because this Metaguru and all the millions of species and all that sort of shit that are trying to pull Earth into the Phantom Matrix, your compassion and your naive light and love will be used against you, and it has been with me. And that's what I'm doing, this big reflection over a long period of time, alright? And I'm just, it's important we bring us and put ourselves number one, alright, no matter what. And being very empathic and being compassionate and spiritual and neutral, walked over. Neutrality doesn't really mean that you're defensive as well. You're apathetic more, alright? And apathy is like you're being abused and you don't change your life. You tolerate the abuse, alright? We're being abused so bad, so long, we don't even know what fucking normal love and normal boundaries and the whole do no harm but take no shit. We've forgotten to take no shit. We've been taking shit for fucking 250 billion years and a lot of millions of years here, and we're all fucking on the soul level fatigued of it and tired of it. And so value yourself, value your boundaries, value how rare your awareness is in this world and stuff. Breathe on that and just think, just contemplate. Have you wouldn't do harm, but have you taken a lot of shit? Maybe from this moment on of hearing this, it's take no shit time, alright? It's tough love time, and you can bring your crocodile style or Wolverine out, you know what I mean? And just anchor yourself and be the example on that, alright? I just say all this because I've always got love. I've always got compassion. I love hearing about the stories and all that sort of stuff, and my attitude might be a bit abrasive, but I come from being in the field experience the last 10 years and taking a lot of shit, and I realize in that big hindsight is, so even January 2020, I had this intent of finishing off the Vatican work. I needed to get to Europe, and I got entangled with someone else's problem, which I don't see it was anything other than just a play to hook me in, because my compassion gets used against me. And I would, like I said with my ex, I would never use money as a justification to not do the right thing. I like to do what others aren't prepared to do and get on the other side, and that's how I created Galactic History 2.0 that made a huge amount of money. It's because I'm willing to go beyond what most people do. And you, by even being here and listening to this and enduring my stuff and my crap, it's a sort of a variable that you've sort of got as well, because there's so much fucking influence around me and stuff. I have to be very careful, and over this 6-week period that I've been talking half an hour now, so that I'll get into now. It's been an opportunity to add more fuckery around me, and I've known it, and it's affected a lot of people around me and stuff, and we just have to identify it and nullify it and just probably endure it, because we can't really control a lot of the people around me. So that's why I've retreated a lot over a long period of time, because my abilities were upgraded, and when I actually retreated, they actually amplified a lot more. So I create a very, as I've said, I define my vetting now. It comes via sessions only, and if you're not interested in that, that's cool. But it's a boundary, and if I don't get to clear you and all the stuff, then what happens with me is that, and maybe I'll show this video now. I've been meaning to do a clip video about etheric implants and chips and stuff, and there was an episode back in the late 90s of Star Trek Voyager, and it was called The Scientific Method. I think it was in the 4th or 5th season and stuff. And there's a being in there, she was a Borg, alright? She was assimilated into the square Metatron shit, alright? And she got adjusted and put all these transhuman sort of stuff in, and she had abilities and stuff. And what happened in this episode is the ship was invaded, and they didn't even know it, because there was a species in another spectrum of light or dimension. And they were doing all these experiments on the crew and stuff, playing now, and this being, her name is 7 of 9, Jerry, whatever her name is. She's got the ability to change spectrums of her vision, and she's walking around the ship, and she's seeing all these beings in the other spectrum that are doing all this stuff. And yeah, it's very, very, I remember seeing that, and it was like, it's always stuck with. So coming via sessions for me is that permission thing, and I can, because it integrates the value thing of people that might be governed by the money system, and it's very, like, the money system variable to get sovereignty is very, very challenging, and very few do. And even, I'll say this, maybe I'm not even, and I'm open to that, because it only inspires me to dig further and expand more. Hey, I had a bit of an interruption there because I had an issue with my phone during the main body of this recording. So So I'm doing this the very next day, and I thought I'd avoid the crickets. And as soon as I sat down, the crickets went ballistic. So it's interesting. I was in the main body that was before this. I talked about love and tough love and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty ironic because the crickets are there, and my ally's right next to my ear, blasting me like crazy. So I was thinking I'll let what I did on that, the recalibration to the new energetic reality teaching component that I was planning to do, go and do a fresh one with a bit of contemplation and recalibration of that. And yeah, I do apologize if the crickets are a bit of a distraction. I sort of have to do a bit of the recordings undercover and not really with an intent to do it any time, but I have sort of a window to get the videos done because they take quite a bit of time. So it was very funny. Like the never had cricket issues, and even today I came out and it was like, yeah, it's beautiful. As soon as I sit down, so but this is the cool thing about crickets, right? So for a lot of you have made it through to this point and you haven't been distracted by their song, right? This is what I feel about crickets. Their song is to attract the lover, alright? So when you hear the crickets, they're a frequency expression of love from their level to attract the partner, okay? So I've always known this for many years, and yeah, maybe I've got a few cricket lovers from the past or some shit, or they're trying to send messages to their soul family off world because they've been trapped here like us. So the crown is up, you guys. If you need to communicate, it's going, alright? But I'm going to get into the main body of this, and I'm going to try and do it in about half an hour or so. The prior stream was interesting for me. I offered a lot of stuff, and I perhaps if you've been familiar with me, I've overlaid a lot of stuff, but it's very important that people integrate those sort of variables, and I'm doing it so that people can actually get the layers of the multidimensional method to the 3D madness that is this reality. I use myself as a reference point to calibrate to and overlay yourself to, because I've gone through it and I've done all the hard yards, reverse engineered things, and I'll just show you an image. My intent for doing what I do is to accelerate that time factor. So I'm giving away my 10 years of hard yards, hitting the books, like I said, converted my week from a 7-day, 21-hour day to 4 42-hour days to maximize my time here, because I know mortality is against us, alright? So reverse engineering what's been going on to the occupation we've been in for 25,000 years. If you paid attention to the clips I've offered at the start, because I've already started creating the video, I offered a bit of a longer section of Ashiana Dean's perspectives, because I think when I've always, like going back to the Conscious Explorer documentary series and other things, I've found it interesting in the past when I actually be able to hear the frequencies and tune into the people and teachers themselves. So I've always been very generous in sharing my space and creations with the teachers themselves, so you get a direct connection to them and discern them yourself, right? So yeah, what I always do with all my recordings, they might not make sense to you, but just go with them and contemplate them, and everything we consume gets downloaded to our cellular memory for our algorithm of perceptions and stuff. So it might not be relevant now, but it might come up later, alright? So there was a section I wanted to add at the start of the last one. At the other thing as well is getting into theme with me and my attitude about things, and yeah, it's epic and stuff, right? So I've shown this many times, and in the image, the Phantom Matrix, and how epic it is and how big it is. Alright? And I'll show you the other image. So I've said how we're being grinded down from a star. We're up against something that's trying to take over the universe, essentially, to grinding us down to like a less than a grain of sand, alright? Okay? That's the bigger scale where we're being grinded down to this 3D 5 sense of reality when we're up against mega multi-dimensional beings that are in absolute sort of control, and we don't even know what's going on. Alright? And I've shown this image before as well. Alright? This is about the setting up for failure of the spiritual teachings and all this sort of shit. And where basically, if you're come to the conclusion you haven't found, this is where I'm aligning myself to, and I'm giving you the option to yourself, right? To say, oh, this has gone on. There's you know, those who have actually even gotten through to the spiritual community and stuff. There's all these hooks trying to hook us in and derail us, and in our naivety and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I included the Light and Love and Clueless sort of clip at the start with Ashiana Dean, and go through hard lessons, and then you see the truth, and it's horrible truth, you know. But my attitude, alright, this is the cool thing, alright. It might seem formidable and all that sort of stuff, alright. You know what I feel? We've just given them a head start, alright? Because we are fucking awesome, alright? They need the head start, alright? And they need to go back to invasion school, alright? Because they're crap. And they need us so puny in that, and they still can't do it. And we have just gone through this experience to let us be reduced to almost nothing, just to prove that we can do whatever we frickin' want, alright? And we do it with love. And that's why I've shared perspectives relative to the Galactic Special Forces. My attitude is, I had someone said I'm too humble, so I've got to talk about me a bit, and that's why I'm offering it and offering them as references of what is possible. My attitude is, fuck, we must be really desperate if we need Andre Hodge to step up and do this shit, alright? And put all these people back together and do all this amazing stuff for people that I never talk about. And but it's just the algorithm of operation and what is possible. And I've got a thing like be humble like the dust, or go crocodile Star-Lord mode and stuff, and it's an interesting space you can occupy when you are humble and don't acknowledge it, because my attitude has always been there's very, very advanced perceptive people such as Carlene and others that I've dealt with that can tune into you and read you like a book, like you don't even know. So I wear all my victories on my psychic sleeve and let everyone go through me transparent, alright, to do whatever discernment people need, alright. So I'm proactive in being transparent so people can see it. So I don't actually, in the past I haven't spoken about it because I let it be there for the ones that can actually perceive, and then they, you know, like super psychics, it's tough, alright? So if they let you into their world, to me it's an honor and a privilege, and that's the validation that if I seek that, it's the nourishment I get because of the trust and privilege of being a part of their journey and stuff, and whatever happens, happens. But yeah, to all you guys, thank you. And to all you guys I haven't met yet, and we work on other levels, it's fun times, hey. So I'm going to get into this and try and be really on it, alright? Because I wasn't quite there and stuff, but I offer me, and like I said, so people can discern and all that. And it's interesting what comes out in the flow, but recalibration, feel that word, alright? And employ the breath stuff that I said. So the purpose of this particular teaching is to separate all the layers related to recalibration that we may need to do constantly and be vigilant. And this February 24th to April 4th, 6 weeks, is a very, very good reference point if you're here now in this time. if you're watching in the future, you can still do it and tune in and just really reflect back if you're in some future time, if you can remember it, alright? And tune in and see what you get. Yeah, what I'm going to get into is, I'll show you a bit of a diagram quick, alright? This might be not the greatest one to show, but it's a bit messy. But I've done these lines, see the squiggly lines and stuff? So I've done me, the individual, the planet, and the universe and Metaguru and all that sort of shit, alright? So there's all different lines. The top of the dates is February 24th to April 4th, so that's the 6 weeks. There's short lines, long lines, overall lines and stuff like that, alright? And there's hits and ticks and all that sort of stuff, alright? So this is all the layers of, say, my 6 weeks and what I was involved in, because some of the events are global, some of the events are individual, some of the events are universal. And even going back, right, what I've said is about last six months or so, I've gone really hard on discovery of Ashiana Dean. And it's not to put anyone out or anything like that. To me, it's just the next level. And maybe you guys have been across it a lot. I've been working full-time, full on, 60, 70 hours a week, doing all the videos and all that sort of stuff for many years, and I haven't been sitting on my butt, an armchair galactic special forces. I've been out in the field and doing stuff and interacting with people and helping people and being there when people shit going on, and being a mentor and investing in everyone and stuff I can to get whatever done is needed. And I was on this very super proactive path until April 2020 when things happened and stuff. And Lionsgate 2019, I conceived the idea of actually getting to London January 2020 to finish off the Vatican and stuff, and got entangled with stuff and got derailed and almost taken out and stuff, and created what I created, and then went my own path to be here now, to be my own beacon, sovereign of everything else and stuff. So it's been a bit bittersweet with the Ashiana Dean, because I lament the fact that I could have been across it 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I discovered her during the Project Camelot video, and just got to watch out for mozzies, be on guard. And yeah, I wasn't ready for it then, and I've talked about my mission and relative to that since and all that sort of stuff. So very fortunate to meet someone that was actually involved with her 2003 and went to 40 of her workshops and missions and stuff and that just last week. And I won't get into it too much, but it was really profound. And I've been doing a recalibration of the last 12 years of my life, or 15 years since I went through my awakening in 2008 and stuff, and I've had to accept a lot of stuff where I was in light and love mode, and I allowed a lot of stuff, whereas I wouldn't allow it now because I've learnt that through that. But I didn't have to, because I just, as I said, I recalibrated myself to a lot of stuff. So the sweet of it is, though, because I've done so much, to have it revealed now and have such a elegant referential truth to solidify my foundation. I've been recalibrating myself to it and seeing what isn't there and what is relevant and all that sort of stuff, and dropping irrelevant concepts and integrating new ones. And I feel like I've changed a lot. So some of this 6 weeks is relative to that because of the big integration. But if I get back to some of the main events were doing the show and recording with Carlene Kamek to Infinity and Beyond 4, which was on that around that time. I discovered the crystal grid network I've sort of got has been hacked, and I didn't know how, but that got revealed. On that, it's almost poetic that I did that recording with Carlene because it was under security and had to be very protected. 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. on the morning of the 25th of February in Australia. So it was right at the time when the Ukraine war started, alright? You imagine that. So what I did over that time, so that weekend, and then there's all the galactic stuff and other stuff going on. And over that time, I know I've had a lot of upgrades, had a lot of targeting, had some really amazing clients come through at the same time. I know there's been a lot of resistance to actually getting to me. And I've had to integrate an expansion of my talents that I'd had to flip some concepts that I have as foundational aspects to who I am, relative to other teachings I've done and shared and perspectives, which plus there's all, the big galactic stuff over all the 250 billion year sort of war and the 25,000 year occupation that we're in and all that. So they're all layers, if that makes sense. So I've got the personal ones, but I've got the global impacting ones and then the universal ones and stuff. Because by me sharing my personal ones and the overall ones, how they affected and interacted with all them, and then the bigger ones and stuff, it's an offering for you to contemplate this for yourself. And while I'm doing February 24th to April 6th, so you guys that are close to when this is released, it's a bit easier because it's quite fresh, that time for you to reflect on. It's a recalibration to the new energetic reality. My attitude is there's a potential for always inserts into reality, such as the Ukraine war, which I'll get into, which I realized through doing a world pranic healing is aimed at on one level, has an effect because these things, it's just all the shit going on to mess us up, and there's constant effort to do that. And if I splice all these layers up, it will help you in the future if you can perceive this and overlay it and use your empathy sonar to see me as a reference point. Then you can do it over you, and then in the future when there are stuff done like this, you can splice it up and nullify it and not let that thing affect you while you've got all your other layers going on. So I think we all do it instinctively, but to me, to explain all this will be a very, very powerful ally. So I'll go the me part, and then I'll talk about the big part because they all overlap, and then I'll share what else. Alright? So just contemplate that recalibration to a new energetic reality, because I feel we're in one. Alright, what happened with the Ukraine war? It did a lot. Alright, on a subconscious energetic layer that I think the majority of people that are in the narrative and stuff wouldn't be able to even define. Alright, but the narrative definitely switched big time, and there's a lot more focus, and the propaganda is epic if you get it. So I've said do the George Costanza opposite and flip the narrative. So whatever the narrative is saying, that's projecting on us how it needs us to feel, because it needs our sympathetic resonance to the system to empathically feed it and all that sort of stuff, right? So you can observe it but not feed it and that. But getting into this, the interaction with Colleen, I'm really grateful that she, with all her epic perceptions, sought me out for a session, because I'm explaining the boundaries and all the mechanics of me with that, because I've worked out how to access me to that level, and I don't think it's just me, because I've worked out the mechanics and I've got my way of navigating things where I can splice all this stuff up and create the separate teaching and components and stuff. I feel the majority of us we're all the same in many respects. I've just worked out that way. So me explaining this and all I do is an effort to assist you to shortcut that time for our mortality. All right. So I'm very grateful that she sought me out for a session. It was epic. She also gave me permission to send out the infinite potential aspect of the recording to core people around me as a teaching. So that's how transparent she is. All right. And so I was very low key. It was about 6 weeks before that February 24th time, and I only gave a short time notice. We didn't have much interaction over that time and stuff, just for security purposes. So I didn't give her much notice, and we did that pretty raw. It was late for me and all that sort of stuff. So there's always a risk for fatigue and all that, but it is what it is. So we got the recording done. It's like, as I said in it, I was pretty amped up, and it was tough to wind down, so I didn't get much sleep. And creating that video, like me creating the videos, I've worked out how to get a bit more efficient. The reason why I keep the same standard and method and stuff is because keeping the familiar pattern and overlay and the mechanics of what I do allows me to focus on the content. So it's all pretty automatic, and I just have to spend a lot of time doing it. Video creation is not an easy thing, and changing all the framework of how you work and stuff, go try it, alright? So it was going to probably take me 20 to 40 hours to do it over the weekend, so we did it on the Friday morning, so it was quite late. So I usually aim to release my videos in early hours of Sunday morning for the weekend and stuff, so people can access it and all that. That's the reason why I do that time. And yeah, so I was quite fatigued. I didn't get much sleep. I only got about 3 or 4 hours sleep after that. And the energies were pretty epic, which I'll get into, which were variable and stuff. So I had someone that needed some help, and I had helped them out early in the week, and it was, you know, if someone asked me for help, I'll always do it. So I opened myself up to that, and we got into that. A lot got revealed in that thing. And there's nothing wrong or anything. It's a teaching and stuff, and I don't want to make anything bad about that individual or anything like that. But what I found out is that, you know, to be ready for sessions, there's a big commitment as a healer, and to be ready and to be able to hold space. And I deal with people with entities and hacking and targeting and all sorts of crazy shit. Like, I put the best of the best together. All the Galactic Special Forces and all the people I've dealt with in the past, I put them back together. Or I've given them platforms and all that sort of stuff. I can identify talents and the potential of people and be a circuit connector and all that sort of stuff. So doing the Galactic Special Forces and being ready 24/7, just like I said with Galactic Special Forces Part 4, where it was 2 to 5 a.m. in the morning at high frequency, right at when most people wouldn't be even ready to do it. Like, I've done sessions very late and overnight and weird times, because some people around the world, like say a mother that only has during the day, and in another part of the world they've only got a window to do it. So I cater for people and what's going on, but to be ready and be anchoring and stuff after that recording, and that, it was with all the other layers that were going on that I'll get into, it was pretty epic. And in that session, it got revealed that I'd allowed complacency and non-thoroughness to not realize what was going on with my crystal network around the world. And I don't talk about that much. But one example of, there was a recording I alluded to, if you're into the Galactic Special Forces stuff and that I've never released because it's not I won't get into the reasons of it. But I just haven't gotten around to releasing it. And in that, if I was able to release it, long story short, I got some of my crystals to someone very special because they'd been supportive and all that, and they had a lot going on, and I sensed the potential with them. And this was many years after I got them to it. A mission sort of revealed, and what they went on is, in a region of the North American continent, they went for a mission just by all this synchronicity that was going on, and they found a multi-dimensional Dreamtime tree that was almost dead. They used one of my crystals to reanimate the tree, give it a new heart, right? And by doing that, that reanimate. It wasn't really a 3D sort of tree. It was a multi-dimensional Dreamtime tree, and it was an anchor for the whole Dreamtime reality to reinitialize it for, if not all of North America, but a greater portion of the regions. And so that's the sort of shit that goes on, alright? And I'm grateful for that person for sharing that. And it's not just what I say. I'm not really worried about what happens. I'm just a facilitator of getting it done, and what they do is what they do. But they're all over the world with very, very special people that prove themselves to me. I don't just offer them to anyone, and that. And I won't say the mechanics or anything, but it's just, there's many variables, right? Psychic defensive, super psychics and stuff like that. So yeah, I realized the whole network was hacked. And it was my complacency to even investigate, but I didn't even want to know. So the recording with Carlene, there was a raw point that I hadn't done it, so there was an opportunity to influence it. Carlene was getting a lot of influence, and she always does, right? And it was because I hadn't completed it. There was an opportunity to undermine me, and that was definitely going on, right? Then there's this other layer of, holy shit, the whole network's hijacked, potentially hacked into, and all this sort of stuff. There was another layer about foundational stuff related to time, which I won't get into, but I've shared that with some of the core people around me. And then there's the variable of what's going on in Ukraine, which I'll get into and offer that as a bit of more detail. So what happened out of that was I got the video done. It took about 30 hours to do. I only slept 4 hours after the recording of it, and only about 4 hours on the Saturday, because I realized, holy shit, it took me about 8 or 9 hours to settle myself and focus to get the video done. And then I got into it. I got late. I didn't sleep until 9 o'clock Sunday morning when I released it. So I was up all night and that. In parallel to that, what happened to Captain Marvel and I was that we were drawn into a mega mission of sorts. And I know it was related to my grid, because she's helped me about that. But it's also related to the world and stuff, right, with what's going on in Ukraine. And for 4 days, it was, I was doing 8 hours healing on myself, doing just like in a heightened, vague, lucid days when I was awake, just in total meditation, anchoring whatever the frequencies were to counteract all this sort of stuff. So it's like the frequency revealed the hacking sort of thing on top of that show that had all the potential of revealing Carlene. There was all this effort to mess with her on a level that I won't really say, but yeah, if you listen to that recording with her, she was intending to get connection with me 6 months before and all that sort of stuff. On top of the Ashiana Dean stuff and recalibrating to the falsehood and the truth and that, plus all the just living and stuff. So Captain Marvel and I, we were basically on 4 days of very, very intense Mighty Galactic Special Forces grid work to defend the Earth and what was going on. And it's interesting, on the Thursday morning after that, we could lower our guard, alright? And I had all my stuff set up, doing it on me, my own infinite potential healer, and I was doing it 6 to 7 hours, and then early hours in the morning again, because she's in a different area of the world, I did another 3 or 4 hours on her as well to help. And then it was really cool because that Thursday, just allowing myself some downtime and integration, I went to the beach because we had a nice warm day, and the beaches here, we're very fortunate. No one there. It was really cool, and I just chose this really random spot on the beach, and I got this amazing crystal just walking straight into the beach. This guy, girl, thing, it's really, really unique. It's like very, very special, and I'm really grateful. It's like, So it was like a reward, and thank you for that. So yeah, so it's a big achievement to get the Carlene video out and offering her to the world, so people have a reference of her and her talents. Fix the grid and the hacking, and then recalibrating everything relative to the Ukraine war, because what it felt like with what's gone on in the last couple of years, everyone's at sort of an exhaustion, fatigue of the stamina required to endure what happened. And most people are looking for my attitude, because they have such, like, just as simple, say if everyone's got 30 or 40% life force, they don't actually have the life force in them to actually endure everything. And so if the body needs 50 or 60%, then there's all these functions that are in backlog waiting to work. So body breaks down and all that sort of stuff, issues, health, disease and all that, have a potential of realizing, like being realized and manifested and stuff. So with the fatigue of the reality, people are looking for the end relief to relax and decompress from it. What I felt was that in what I did relative to the pranic healing of the planet, I did that about March 24th, and I'll get into that, was what it did is most people are at the limit, all right, and they're looking for relief of the pressure to regroup and recharge and recalibrate in a positive way. What it did, it sent people off the edge over less energy. So yeah, it can be felt in the reality as well as a variable, and it's that's mainly what the foundation of the reality we're in, the new energetic reality that we've got to recalibrate to, in my opinion, all right, because it was very unexpected. So on top of that, there's a bit of a sort of, the Hollow Earth foundational being guardian antidote to the chaos sort of stuff. There's DNA upgrades and body changes and stuff to recalibrate to it. So I had some epic clients come through as well, and it's really interesting because after fix the grid and all that sort of stuff, one particular client did really amazing thing, and the day after the session they let me know of a feedback of what happened to them in a positive way and stuff, and they actually got this like telephone left message warning her of having anything to do with me and supporting me and supporting of the grid network. They will be a target for smashing by this individual and the system and stuff. So it was this individual is pretty hardcore and fearless, and yeah, it was confirmation and stuff of many things. And then there was another client that has had a lot of issues that did a lot of work for, and it felt like after I was working multi-dimensional in the dream time, battling to defend them and stuff like that. So with all these variables and stuff going on, it's like, for me, my body changed quite a lot, and the midway through that, probably March 14, 15 and stuff, the DNA upgrades were kicking in, and it was just like fatigue and like hit by a Mack truck, and plus we had solar flares this recent weekend, which were pretty epic on top, and there was a lot of solar energies going on, which, if you have gone through my videos, the very first one I've uploaded is one by Ian R. Crane about the Quera and the prophecy of the sun and stuff. And if you've watched the Infinite Potential Healing early on videos, I've included clips about how our DNA is affected by the sun and stuff. So what happened with me is, like, my body's changed, and I may have said it, I put on a bit of weight, but it's like I went through this cocoon stage. So the weight, you eat a bit more to give the body the resources to go through the transformation, and then that it starts coming off and stuff. And the other thing with me is, like, doing sometimes I get taken and I have like unicorn hair coming out of my third eye or somewhere else that doesn't add up, and I've been away for months or something in stasis or doing missions, and I can put on weight before that or for missions because you need the resources in the body to sustain yourself. So, but yeah, midway through there were definitely DNA upgrades and expanded abilities, and I'll just show you a diagram. So what happened is, with all those layers going on and all these variables at play, and without ability in the context to splice them up and know what was going on, I've just drawn this quickly. So say I've offered how my sensitivity works and stuff, and I've had to be very careful. The reason of saying that is probably a lot of you are as well, and you don't know it, and you're being affected by it. And until you have the wisdom of all these sort of things, you aren't able to splice it up and calibrate yourself to the awareness of your talents, alright? But what happened on top of all this, with all these variables and all this soup of different layers of stuff going on, say this is a metaphor of how I normally am. So my sphere of influence is like the 1 degrees, and the 1 degrees of the 1 degrees aren't really, they have the potential effect, but say that was my previous sphere of influence and stuff, alright? And then you get upgrades, and then all your 1 degrees are there, but then all those that affect the 1 degrees through time and stuff like that, future clients and all this sort of stuff. So I was having all these issues, and it was like, what the F is going on? And what I had to do about this, alright, this is a teaching for many of you, is I've had to accept I've had upgrades and my sensitivities are more increased and stuff. And I've had a metaphor that, and I've shared in other videos, that it took me about till 2015 to realize a lot of stuff isn't me, but there's no instruction book on actually splicing up and identifying you and what isn't you. So going into hermit mode and isolating yourself so you know thyself, you've got a reference point. And I did some videos early on in the multi-dimensional method to 3D madness, was one about references, which is relative to skydiving, and our subtle ever connection to earth is always there. It's like being hugged, not even knowing it. And going skydiving, there was no reference to any connection, and it was so foreign. So yeah, I talk about that, and then I talk about sanctuary space, where you've got your, crystal fortress and stuff like that, and sanctuary state, where then you can develop yourself to tune into that frequency of that very nurturing environment, and you can take it wherever you go, so nothing can affect you on that. So it took me many years to realize this, and then once I did, it was realize, holy shit, so much shit is affecting me and it's not me, alright? So what I had to do over this time is, I usually have like 20%, 80%. 20% is me, 80% is other people. I like having that 20% high because it means I'm vigilant to what I'm not willing to see. There's a concept called the shadow self out there, and what I've learned is the shadow self is a phantom matrix insert. It's not actually us, alright? But so yeah, if you think you've got shadow issues, and it's like, I've got all these shadow issues, have a look at the Phantom Matrix thing, and it's an insert probably around the Babylon Massacre. If you go through the Amplify the Echo series, probably 3 or 4, and that was an inserted layer into us to fuck us up, alright? I'm not saying dismiss what's coming through, use that as a tool, and that's what I used it as a tool. But what if it isn't you as well? Then you can defend yourself from it, alright? So all these things, all these concepts of integrating and recalibrating to new understandings, alright? So what I've had to do in myself is go, holy shit, the only way I can get through this is that I actually have to reduce that 20% to 5%, and 95% is not me. And as I said, I've been very encouraging of people to actually be vigilant and take on board stuff potentially that isn't you, to be thorough, and it only makes you stronger. What I'm offering is, perhaps now you actually have to reduce that threshold yourself, alright? So just play with that. It's a very interesting concept, and when I did this, it was very defensive. So I had to actually go opposite to George Costanza it's not you, it's me. No offense, guys. It's humanity and all that sort of stuff. We are more aware. If you're even able to contemplate a lot of these concepts, you're probably already integrating the defense of it and not affecting me and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've had to sort of say, oh wow, maybe I've, like, usually in the past it's been like, say when a client engaged me, and that's where I'm very sort of professional with the money, because, and the vetting and opening only a little, like, keyhole to access to me and stuff. Whereas that was foundation of training to work, like handling this. So yeah, that, I invite you to contemplate that. All right, so it's getting dark and I've been going on quite a long time. I had all these things going and doing the recordings and working all this stuff out, fixing stuff to improve stuff, getting benefits for it, getting upgrades. The frequencies all changed. One of the things I can do is do pranic healings on the whole planet. It's a bit like I do the Yoda metaphor of whether you lift rocks or you lift X-wings out of the swamp, and I only do it if I'm in abundance of whatever I'm in and stuff, and I was a bit quiet and I'm on the other side of this. So about March 24 I decided to do a pranic healing on the planet, and this is where I didn't actually know it's interesting, I only told Carlene this week that, do you realize we did that recording when the invasion started and the war started? It was like, holy shit, like obvious now, but back then didn't know. And when I did the pranic healing on the planet, and this is what I'll get into, it's actually quite important to really contemplate, is I cleared from Hollow Earth through and stuff like that, and cleared all portals and all that sort of stuff. From my perspective, whether it does or not, that's up to you or the Earth. She gave me permission via vision of doing a free healing of people and stuff, and I do enjoy doing that and helping people out, because I do get visions from healings and stuff. And so I did the pranic healing on the planet, and there's Facebook posts. I've actually done a few Facebook posts this week as well. Offered some of the core Ashiana recordings, and I actually made my Infinite Potential Soul Contract Revocation available for free now on my website and stuff. So if you go to the Access to Me page, it's at the top, or if you go to the Facebook page, I've done a couple of articles and stuff which hopefully are very helpful for those that read them. But yeah, if you go back through my Facebook posts, I offer it there back then a few weeks ago. And what I found, if you understand Ukraine and that region, it's actually a very, very high producer of grains and farming produce and exports to many areas of the world, all right? And what's gone on is that the lunacy of the disunity governments and stuff on the 3D, because I work at the metadegree level, I don't really give a shit about the 3D. It's all filtered down. Most people are totally focused on it. They can't comprehend all that stuff. So that's where I'm leading, like focusing on that, because I see it's a huge gap, right? And leadership isn't about doing what you want to do. It's doing what you perceive as a vulnerability, and you step into that gap and fill it, right? And so I did the pranic healing on that region. I cleared everything else, all the other regions of the world. And when I did the healing on that region, I got a lot of gut issues. And my metaphor is, this is the recalibration to a new energetic reality. It was a hit on the collective gut of society, because what's going on with the money system is that inflation is kicking in, and food and all that is getting hard to get because of all the money that was flooded into the system relative to the COVID virus. So so with the money, basically inflation is the byproduct of the devaluing of the money by printing so much more and giving it away over the COVID sort of virus. That's why we're seeing prices rise and stuff. The system's got to absorb the energy of the money, and so our life force is being diminished by, say, a loaf of bread, for example, previously cost $2, now it's $3. It's gone up 50% in value. So we need to give 50% more energy to getting what we previously had, so our life force is worth less. So we've got to source more to get what we previously had, right? So what, all the sanctions and stuff are ludicrous with Russia and all that. My attitude, the narrative is opposite. What we're being told is wrong. You should do the opposite and perceive the opposite of the narrative, right? So what I feel the hit on February 24th relative to the Ukraine sort of thing is it's been a hit on the collective stomach and gut region. So if your gut has been upside down and stuff, it's probably a byproduct of the effect of the ripple of the energy being inserted into reality that has affected that on the collective level, because food is going to be potentially more expensive, right? So that's going to affect your life force, how you can consume energy, nourish your body, and then dreaming and all that sort of stuff, and do the multi-dimensional sort of stuff. So while I'm not going to share the reasons for that on the 3D because they're very polarized at the moment, but there's stuff going on relative to, say, COVID that are related to that, in my opinion, that are being totally obfuscated by the polarity and the narrative, absolute nature of it, against beings that are lightning rods for negative projection sort of stuff, right? And that, if you've watched Director of Your Own Reality video that I released last time, then it is harvesting our manifestation to generate the reality that we're in, okay? So another aspect of war is to traumatize Earth and to lock down the grid, so we maintain the false grid over the natural grid and all that sort of stuff. And there's other reasons relative to the Ashiana stuff and all that sort of stuff. So there was a clip of the chaos sort of thing. So just think there's extra chaos being inserted. It's the sort of the planet on the breadbasket, a region of the world that produces 30% of the wheat and grain and farming sort of thing, to just to maintain some to keep people out of starvation. So you think about the volume of people out there, millions of people that potentially are going to have very hard issues relative to starvation and stuff. So it's definitely hit the stomach region of the planet, and then it trickles down to us collectively. So my attitude is, if we don't have the nourishment in our body to perform, then we don't have the ability to form at a higher level. So it's an effort to sabotage our intuitive abilities, which confirms that we are bubbling up and we have a lot of potential, in my opinion. So yeah, so then after that it was a bit clear, and then what happened this week on Monday, it felt very, very clear. And my ally Captain Marvel, it's getting dark and I'm not going to go too much longer, but she does a lot of grid work and it cleared up a lot relative to all that stuff. And I had to do quite a few healings on her and stuff, and yeah, she did a lot of work herself, because the whole earth grid is in her body and she just picks up areas that need to be cleared, and it's a metaphor of clearing the earth and stuff. So she said that there'd obviously been a lot of effort to get control of the earth grid and stuff, and Monday the light was able to get back through and control the grid once more. And it was interesting with the Canon, the epic solar flares over the weekend. On the Sunday it was really interesting because I felt a lot of dread, alright, just deep dread, and it was possibly the system itself projecting on us that it was losing control, and we'd come out the other side and we've come out stronger. Alright, so yeah, it's getting late and I've talked a lot, and this is a pretty big release, so I don't want to go too much longer. So I've tried to explain many things here and stuff, and if you can still see me, we've had daylight saving this week as well, which is another recalibration of the new energetic reality and stuff. But yeah, I hope you get something from this. I've offered a lot of information. It's quite long already and I don't really want to take it too long. I've talked about know thyself. So potentially a lot more is affecting you, and you can reduce what you've got to do and realize that if more is affecting you, you can not take it on. You can defend yourself better. The other thing is tough love time. It's do no harm, take no shit. All right. You don't have to be apathetic to and passive to the bullshit. All right. I am pretty sure it is in the early clip, but what I'm inviting you to do is use me as a beacon to recalibrate and discern me. Like, don't give away your perception authority to anyone, all right? And start with me and recalibrate yourself, and just review in the past where you may have had instances where your gut was yelling at you but you didn't listen to it. My advice now is to really give it a bit more weight, and if you need to, Malcolm Gladwell's Blink book is really excellent for that. But I hope this is great. I may have missed stuff because it's getting dark and I've tried to rush it and talked a lot. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I'm grateful if you've found me and you've gained something from this. Interesting times, guys, hey? Just contemplate that concept, recalibration to a new energetic reality. I have no doubt that there's going to be a lot of fuckery in the future to do those sort of things, to affect us in those sort of ways. So I'll give you the sort of mechanics of all the variables of me and all the things I was involved in, and dealing with clients and stuff, and expanded abilities, and DNA upgrades, and new awarenesses, and energy shifts, and the planet and the galactics, because there's definitely been galactic energies come through. My crown has been affected, and if there's no solar flares, it could be that. So I hope you gain something from this. I am here, I'm smiling in the dark, in the daylight savings, and yeah, just employ all this stuff here as a reference of sorts in your cellular memory to tune into, in your metadata of everything you've acquired and contemplated. It's amazing times to be here, and in spite of everything, I feel there's enormous potential all the time. And if you're unable to handle what is going on, just revisit what I said about the breath work and just pull yourself back in. Do breath work for 5 minutes and see how you feel after that. You can probably flip your whole reality on top of itself by just mastering your breath and getting more oxygen to your body. So will that, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for finding me. And until next time, lots of love. Andre out. Bye.
What's happening right now on our planet is a learning drama. If we start looking at it from the highest levels first, once we get down to the lower nitty-gritty levels, it doesn't seem so intimidating. From the higher levels, we are in the middle of a drama that has to do with the path of order and the path of chaos that is talked about in that writing. The path of chaos is the path of the phantom matrix right now in relation to our time matrix. It is not only a path of chaos in terms of what consciousness experiences, it is a path of chaos in terms of the physics upon which its matter base and its hologram are built. Because the physics of the phantom matrix are literally running a reverse mathematical program to the mathematical program of the divine blueprint that allows this hologram in our time matrix to be manifest. Nobody can ever escape God. That doesn't mean God's going to track you to the ends of the universe and drag you home. It means you never leave God in the first place. We're all taking place. All of these reality fields that we speak about and that we're going to learn about take place within Source. You could think of them as thought forms within the mind of God, but that in science terms would imply a brain, and God's beyond the brain, hard technology. We are all directly connected to Source and always will be. But as this is explained, there is a preference, and Source has a preference, to experience itself through the path of order. Because through the path of order, you can retain your memory matrix, and you can know what it means. You can remember all the beings that you were, all the things that you've experienced, and you can remember that while holding full direct at-one-ment with Source. The ultimate destiny, it was called the destiny of sorrow, that is of the path of chaos, is going back to what I loosely call space dust. Space dust is holy. It is sacred. It is blessed. It is conscious. But it is not conscious in the same way as a complex being that has progressively reassembled its divine blueprint memory matrix, turned it all on, and then ascended into full expansion to Source. Because the being who ascends, as opposed to fragments, has full knowing of the significance of what it's achieved, and it can appreciate fully the experience it had in individuation, while it simultaneously knows itself as God. It's an experience that's very hard to put into linear words, because it's implying, here we go, hard to put in linear words, it's implying that once you get into full expansion, to full ascension, and expand fully back into Source with your memory matrix, you have a full cognition of all the things, all the places, all the things that are taking place in the time matrix. They're all happening at the same time. So it's like when you ascend, you remember that you never left. You remember that you were always God and in full expansion with God, and this was like a little virtual reality thought form that you tuned into, and you can tune into more of them. There is so much more to the state of expansion that is called at-one-ment with Source. That got twisted into atonement in some of the teachings and some of the twisted teachings, where you've got to atone in order to get bad. No, in order to get back to God. No, actually you just have to at-one. You have to become expanded back into at-one-ment to know true salvation. We're our own saviors, is what it comes down to. We don't need anything more than the knowledge of the fact that we are an expression of Source, and therefore every quality that we attribute to Source having, we have the ability to embody that quality in some form or another as well.
Take my hand and fly away with me, over mountains and seas, far away from the pain, to a place where we're all free, as we fly together, you and me. We will build a new world, still believing in love. I know that we will be
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.